Finally, we'll close off today's lecture talking about the ternary operator. This ternary operator, by the way, is not only in Python, but is in a number of other languages. And you'll see it come up again. So this ternary operator, by the way, where does ternary come from? Sounds very similar to binary. Ternary means having three parts. This is an operator, or really we would say this is an expression that will evaluate to one of two values. And the way we decide which value it evaluates to is based on some condition. And it might be a little funky to see this kind of in this order. Okay, the first possible value, then the condition in the middle, and then the other possible value. But again, this is written to be as easy to read as possible. And so you look at this and you should read it like English. So this expression will be value 1 if this condition is true. Otherwise, it'll be value 2. And so when you read this, just read it as if it's English. Val 1 if the condition is true. Otherwise, val 2. So we can look at an example here. Here's a generate ticket function. We seem to really like these functions in this class. If we're given how much over the speed limit someone is going, I'd say that if it's less than 10 miles over the speed limit, they don't have to pay anything. But if it is 10 miles or more over the speed limit, they owe $100. Well, we can take something like this, where if speed less than 10, ticket equals 0, else ticket equals 100. And we can instead write it with this ternary operator all as one line, all 4 of those lines. So the ticket is 0 if speed over is less than 10, else 100. And the insight to notice here is that you can use a ternary operator when each branch, like both branches of your conditional, kind of evaluate to a single, the thing that you do in the body of the branch of both branches is assigning some single value. Because in that way, you can change this into a single assignment where the value is just dependent on the conditional. Now, I'll point out here that you can't use elifs in the ternary operator. The ternary operator always looks like this. So val 1 if condition, else val 2. You can actually approximate elifs if you want to have more than just 2 conditions, but it doesn't look very good. Let's take a look at what I mean and do some coding together here. So again, our ternary operator looks like this. We'll have val 1 if some condition, else val 2. Let's say maybe should you wear a hat? Where at equals true if we could say true if, like, I don't know, is raining or is sunny, else false. But you'll notice this isn't a very useful example. And of course, assuming there is some is raining equals true, is sunny is false. This isn't very useful because instead of needing to write a ternary operator, we can just use this condition itself. So when our 2 possible values themselves are booleans, we don't actually need to use this ternary operator. Just the condition itself evaluates to the boolean that we want. But maybe a good example of where to use this is thinking back to very early on in the course. One of the first examples that we wrote using conditionals was max or min. So if we want to come up with a max value, before we did something like, okay, we have a equals 10, b equals 6. So if a is greater than b, then our max value equals a, else max value equals b. Well, this should look kind of familiar. Seeing an assignment in each of these branches of our conditional makes me think that maybe we can instead make this a single assignment where the value that we assign is what some ternary expression evaluates to. So how do we do this? We would say we take our conditional, if a greater than b, and we put the value that we want to assign before that. So it'll be a if a is greater than b. Otherwise, it'll evaluate to b. And now in a single line, we're able to get the maximum value. So the maximum value, again, the way we read this is a if a is greater than b. Otherwise, it's b. And this is really handy because this is an expression. And so if you're writing, for example, a function def max val given a and b, you don't even need to store this in a variable. You could just return this value. So this is, I find that in my coding, I use this most commonly when I go to return something. If there are two possible things I want to return based on some condition, I can just write a single return statement that has a ternary operator for deciding which value to return. And so let's just show that this works. Print max val of 140, and it should give us 100. Whereas if I make this 450, this should print 450. And that is it for this syntactic sugar lecture. You can now go forth and write code that is more beautiful. Bye.